Are you new to teaching elementary music, or do you feel like you're just spinning your wheels every day in your classroom? Maybe you're overwhelmed and honestly just don't know where to go for advice and mentorship. Hi, I'm Jessica, and when I'm not drinking all the coffee, watching Razorback sports, or hanging out with my family of boys, it's my passion to help elementary music teachers just like you teach your students by using your unique personality and teaching style. In this podcast, you'll find helpful tips, strategies, and ideas that will help you kick that stress to the curb and begin teaching music with confidence. Let's get started. Welcome back. This is episode 36, and we're going to talk about I'm a music teacher. What's your superpower? This is something fun I wanted to talk about because, first of all, I've seen this shirt all over the place, and I just thought it was super fun. And it got me thinking, what are our superpowers as a music teacher, right? And so I've talked before about the value of music education and about why it's important. But today I want to talk about you as a music teacher, not just music education, but as a music teacher. And I wrote a blog post about this, which I'm linking to in the show notes if you would rather read it. But I want to talk to you a little more in detail on the podcast, so you can kind of hear my heart behind this as well. So first of all, I want to talk about how every music teacher, which I've mentioned before, you're going to have hard days. And so it's easy to feel discouraged and like you're not doing a good enough job if you're having a hard day. Now, I want to tell you that if you're having a hard day, it doesn't have to turn into a hard week or a hard month or a hard year. You can have your hard day, give yourself a little, feel sorry for yourself a little bit, and then let's move on. Move from that. Don't stay in that place. Have a hard day, and then, vow to yourself that tomorrow will be better. Do some self-reflection. Why was today hard? What went wrong? Was it my attitude? Was it I just kind of woke up in a mood, or was it something to do with your students or the teachers, or maybe your lessons didn't go the way you thought they would, or maybe you weren't feeling good. So think about why the day was hard, and then think about how it could be better tomorrow. It's okay to have rough moments, but don't stay in that place. Just keep moving forward. Just take one step in front of the other, even on the days you don't feel like it or the days that it's really hard. It always gets better. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. So after your hard day and you're doing some self-reflection, I want you to think about why you became a music teacher. What made you want to become a music teacher in the first place? When you were in high school and you were, thinking about going to college, you could have been anything you wanted to be. You could have gone to school for anything. In fact, maybe you started as something else and then you decided, you know what? I want to be a music teacher. So you switched your degree. Maybe you started college without declaring a major and then you decided, I'm going to be a music teacher. Maybe you don't have a music education degree. You've taught private lessons and then you decided, I want to teach in the schools. And so you got alternatively certified. My story is I started as a piano performance major, and I had played piano since I was 6, and I knew I'm going to be a professional pianist, and I'm going to, I wanted to travel the world and play piano. And I've talked a little bit more about this before, but basically, so I started school as a piano performance major, and I decided I had always worked with kids in some capacity, always. Whether it was babysitting, taught private piano and clarinet lessons, I was a camp counselor. I loved working with kids. And so I thought, wait a second. I love working with kids. I love music. Why not combine my passions? And so you would think, still being a music major, changing from performance to music ed would be a simple transition. Oh, no, let me tell you. I ended up finishing my degree in 4.5 years because I was still kind of behind. Anyways, that's another story for another day. But I decided to be a music teacher because I loved kids, I love music, and I honestly have a passion for teaching. And so those hard days, I would remember my why. and would think back to, why did I get this degree? Why did I decide I wanted to be a music teacher? What put me in this place when I could have been anything else I wanted to be? So I want you to do the same thing. Think about, why am I teaching music? Why did I decide to do this? And don't let one hard day discourage you. Okay, we're going to move past that. So, like I said, this is a blog post as well. So I'm going to read a little bit from the blog post, but I'm also going to throw in some other things that are not in here as well. So your first superpower is you can roll with the punches. All right, so every teacher deals with unexpected interruptions in their day. And I honestly just don't feel like, though, that they have to roll with the punches as much as a music teacher does. So I've heard this so many times and seen so many music teachers say this, and I've actually gotten emails about this too, where music teachers are just frustrated because, let's say a certain student didn't finish their homework. Well, then they're kept back from music class. Or maybe there's an ESL class, and that's, there are air quotes, you can't see me, but air quotes, only time this teacher can work with those students is during music. I mean, there's just so many situations I've heard where kids are kept back from music class for a variety of different reasons. It gets very, very frustrating. And not only that, you have assemblies coming your way, field trips you maybe didn't even know was happening. And then you're, scrambling last minute to finish up these programs you have that you need to get your students ready for because you haven't seen them in that next number of days because they keep getting pulled out for various reasons. So here's the first thing I want to say. I did not put this in the blog post. This is just coming from my heart right now, is you guys are 100% not supposed to just be walked all over. Okay. What I mean is you don't just let things happen and be like, oh, well, there was another day of me not, here's another day of me not getting my students and I'm just going to keep letting it happen. No, I 100% think it's perfectly okay for you to stand up for yourself in a gentle and kind way, and very respectfully. You are allowed to go up to your principal or other teachers and say, can you explain to me why you keep pulling these kids from music? And can I remind you that it's state mandated that the kids have a certain number of music hours every week? And then remind them that there's other times of the day they can pull these kids. Maybe have a conversation with your principal about why you're frustrated, about how many, show her or him. Maybe they're not aware that these kids keep getting pulled from music class. So show them. You've logged it. Maybe you've logged the hours, the amount of time the kids have been pulled from music class, and then show them, I've only seen this certain class this many times this month, or these certain students this many times this month. And then they're going to be like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. And so I think just sometimes this goes back to I've talked about before, how you're not a glorified babysitter. You teach music, you have a degree, you're a teacher, just like any other teacher. And I think sometimes, maybe not intentionally, but some other educators don't view the music teacher as a true professional and a true teacher. Now, this does not go for every teacher. There are some teachers that are so amazingly supportive of music class that they want their students to be in the music room. They find the value behind it. They are seeing music class translate over into what their kids are doing in their classrooms and how it's helping them learn. But you're always going to have those certain teachers who just don't value what you're doing. And maybe they're not aware that the kids are supposed to come to music. So I wanted to throw that in there, is don't just, let them walk all over you. Handle it respectfully. But I just wanted to also say that music teachers are the best at just adapting and dealing with things, because you're there to teach music. It's not easy, of course not. So you don't want to just let them, do whatever they want to do and keep pulling kids from your class, but you also realize you got to let the small things go. You can't just hyper focus on this one situation all year long, because it's going to end up affecting you and bringing you down as a person if you keep doing it. You want to be a team player. And then you also want to have a relationship with these other teachers and educators in your building, so they do remember to include you whenever they schedule a field trip, that they remember to let you know. that they remember to let you know if there is an upcoming event maybe that they are pulling the kids from, or maybe they ask you ahead of time, is it okay with you if I pull these 3 students this day because I really need to work with them and then I won't be pulling them the rest of the month? Maybe just having a conversation is what you need to do to, respectfully ask, can you please let me know ahead of time? I had this lesson planned and now I can't teach it because I needed the full class in here. But you are really, really adaptable and you roll with the punches. And of course, it's not easy. You want to be a team player, you want to be respected, but you also need to make sure that you are getting your kids in there so you're able to teach them music as well. All right, so superpower number 2, you get to teach every child in your school. I have always thought it was so cool that you could, if I'm talking about if you're in an elementary school and you're the only music teacher in that building, you get to teach every single one of those kids. It is so awesome. Now, I see the flip side of it where a classroom teacher gets, I don't know, I'm going to use 25 because an average students in their class. And so they, they see the same kids every day. So their relationship with their students will be different than yours because they're with them all day, every day. I mean, except for when they come to you or art or PE or lunch or recess, those kind of things. But I think it's amazing because you get to see kindergarten all through 5th or 6th grade and sometimes even pre-K. And so what's really cool for a music teacher is a lot of times you get to see these babies grow up. If you've been at the same school long enough, you'll see the same kids in kindergarten and then 1st and 2nd, 3rd, all the way up. And by the time they leave your school and go off to middle school, you've developed such a relationship with them. They're so comfortable with you. They're coming to music. You don't have to even emphasize procedures as much with the older grades because although you have different issues arising, let's be honest, they are so used to what goes on in the music room, you're able to just do so much with them. They are, it's just so much fun to be around them every single year. But the hard thing about having every student in the school is you have to somehow learn every name of the students. That is not easy, okay? And I used to stress about this so much, and I'm telling you, I was like, there's no way I'm going to learn all these kids' names. How am I supposed to do this? It just took time. But honestly, once you just start teaching the kids and you start doing activities and then you start doing some name games with them, you'll learn quickly, and you'll also hear the kids saying each other's names. You'll start just picking it up and learning, and it just becomes kind of second nature without you having to memorize a seating chart or ask the kids their names. It just kind of happens. You'll just start slowly learning it. It takes time, though. But I just think it's so amazing that you are the reason every child gets to learn music. Even tough behavior kids, learning disabled kids, honor roll kids, and average Joe kids, you get to teach them all. You never know what creative spark you're instilling in these kids, you guys. And we've talked about before, sometimes these kids will become middle schoolers or even high schoolers, and they'll come back and just thank you for being their music teacher because they ended up going through choir or band or pursuing orchestra or even deciding to become a music major because you made a decision to teach them music. And I just think that's so powerful and something that you maybe just don't realize that that's a superpower of yours, that you're instilling a love of music inside of these kids that you may not even see develop until later on in life. Your third superpower is you teach music even when you don't have a voice. You guys, I'm telling you right now, I just think music teachers are so amazing because not only are you talking all day, you're singing. And so your voice, even drinking water all the time, just goes quicker than a lot of other teachers because you're using it so much. Oh my goodness, you're using it so much. And so your musicians are just creative beings, right, in themselves. And so you just don't realize how much you're going to use your voice until I lost my train of thought. But what I was going to say is you don't realize how much you're going to use your voice until you start teaching music. And it's amazing to me. My first year teaching, my voice went out so many times that I just was like, I'm not used to singing and talking this much all the time. It just became such an issue. So I thought, you know what though? I can't take off from school just if I don't have a voice. It's going to be a little interesting up in that classroom today because I can't talk and the kids are going to realize. But there are ways that you are just creative. Well, that's what I was going to say. Musicians are creative anyway, so you get creative with how to use, how to teach your kids, even if you can't talk, even if you can't use your voice, you still get creative. So maybe you don't realize you're even losing your voice until you woke up that day and you're like, oh, for the love, how am I supposed to do this? So you just kind of start brainstorming ideas on your way to school, and you get them, you just jot them down real quick. What are some things I can do instead of teaching the way I was going to? What are things I can do instead? So maybe you make it fun, and I'm trying to think of how to explain it. All over YouTube, or you've probably seen it shared on social media, where you see the people holding the signs and then they drop to the floor over and over until you finally read the last word of that sentence. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to explain it. But basically, you hold up a sign for an instruction and explain, today we're going to, and then the next time comes up and you say, I'll just use nonverbal language, put the sign down, and nobody's allowed to talk today. And then let's make this a memory or something like that, where the kids know that you explain to them by holding up a sign, you've lost your voice, and you're all going to have like a quiet class. You may even have your principal come in and be like, what's going on in here? It's so quiet in the music room. But basically just kind of roll with it. I mean, you guys, it's going back to that first statement I said, where you just kind of roll with the punches. If you can't talk, it's going to be very interesting, but maybe you just have a quiet classroom. Everybody has to learn Everybody has to use nonverbal communication, or you just write your instructions on the board that day, or you just play music and point at it and, nonverbally tell them to sing with it, or something along those lines. Okay. You still teach, you just get creative with how you do it that day. And the last superpower, I think is a huge one, is you're a team of one. I mean, we're so lucky that you're labeled the arts team or the specials team, and so you have other teachers in your corner who understand what it's like being a specials teacher, or, a specialist is what I like to label it. But you don't have, most of the time, now I can't speak for everyone, but most of the time, you are the only music teacher in your school, in an elementary school. Now, if you're teaching secondary music, of course, you're going to have other music teachers teaching different, band, orchestra, choir, general music. But in an elementary setting, unless you're at a large school, you're usually it. So it's really hard, you guys, when you're a team of one. You see these, like a third grade team meeting after school to plan lessons for the week. You don't have that. You are your own, your own team. So you don't get to just like, hey, let me walk down the hall here and ask this music teacher if this lesson, is this what they're teaching this week? And did this go well for them? No, you're basically talking to yourself, which I do that a lot anyways. I don't know if you guys do. And so, but you are eventually going to meet other music teachers online, in your district, at workshops, or maybe you have a musical mentor teacher you can ask for help. But over a while, you get comfortable kind of being on your own, and you get comfortable and confident doing what you're doing. You will find your groove and your own way of teaching and what works, and how to outline your school year, and what way you want to teach from the beginning of the school year till the end of the school year, how you want to structure your lesson plans, what curriculum you want to use, and what curriculum map you want to follow. You will get comfortable doing things a certain way. It just takes time. It really just takes time and getting used to it and comfortable with the way you want to teach music in your classroom. So with all that said, I am so happy to call myself a music teacher, and so happy to meet so many other music teachers. And you may not even realize it, but you are a superhero. You are changing lives every single day in your classroom. So keep going, keep doing it, and keep showing up and being that superhero that all your students already know you are. All right, y'all, I'll be back on here soon. Have an amazing rest of your week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, I would love for you to review the show and leave a rating on iTunes. To find out more about how I can help you gain momentum in your elementary music teaching career, head to thedomesticmusician.com, where you'll find free downloads, courses, the blog, and so much more. Continue teaching music and never doubt the impact you're making each and every day in the lives of your students.